in terms of inflation on a global level, because this is a concern because of the stimulus packages we've had to enforce because of the crisis. In terms of inflation globally, what are your thoughts on that? Is it a concern globally? And what should, say, a country like Spain or the US do to tackle this problem?
Yeah, I think there is a concern. I mean, the basic concern is inflation is back on a global level. You know, we had in Europe an inflation rate in December of 2.2%, and which is higher than the benchmark rate set by the inflation goal set by the European Central Bank. And also Europe is a relatively low growth area. So if you have an inflation rate of 2.2% and a growth rate of 1.5%, so this is a pretty issue, you know. Inflation is back. You have to see, I think with some exception, within the last 20 years we have not really inflation. One reason for that is, for example, China and all emerging economies will produce a lot of exports for a cheap price, and this was imported by the developed countries, so that the inflation rate was in that countries very, very low. And this is now turning around, so inflation is somewhat back, and there is concern in the market. You know, already the inflation expectations increasing. You know, we saw in the recent past increasing inflation expectations. What will follow will be rising interest rates, you know, and also rising wages. So we can run in a kind of inflationary circle or somewhat, you know, rising inflation, rising prices, rising wages, and the other way around, which we saw pretty much in Europe in the 17. There is a danger here. Let's see how this develops in 2011. Actually, I'm expecting a kind of a dampening of the inflation rate in 2011, because I'm also expecting a lower global growth in China and elsewhere in the world, which means lower demand, and that means, let's say, kind of a moderation of the inflation rate. What I think is for 2011 with regards to inflation, a bigger challenge are the food prices. You know, I mean, we should take care, or the world community, you know, should take care that we're not running in a kind of a food crisis, you know. I mentioned this already in the beginning of our interview. Inflation is a social issue. So if we have seeing rising food prices, and which means for the poor countries and for the poor people, could be really, really a big issue, you know.